Hello everyone, my name is Saharsha and my role name is 502 and I'm here to explain about forward and include methods in Java servlets. As you know, Java servlets are used as a backend for web pages and it gives responsiveness and even Java servlets even computes values and returns the values as HTML format or text format or in any other format. So coming to the understanding forward method in Java servlets. So before understanding, let us know what is the purpose of forward method. So the main purpose of the forward method is to redirect the request to another resources. So we redirect the request coming from the client to another resources by which we can reduce the load on the server. And coming to the advantages and limitations of forward method. Advantages of forward method. It allows for reusability of servlets. It enables separation of business logic and presentation logic. It reduces processing time by forwarding the request to another resource rather than processing it in current servlets. The third point is very important. As you know, the time taken for the computation may be of milliseconds, but the delay may be the, the delay may be sometimes even more. So while if if a servlet, for example, we have a servlet and it doesn't have any forward method, then that servlet itself computes the values and generates output while running the another statements in the servlet. And even if we, as you know, sometimes it takes time. So if we move the resource from one servlet to another servlet, it will be easy. There will be some parallel execution. This parallel execution is very advantageous while computation of large values. And then limitations of forward method. As you know, every method has its own limitations. It cannot be used to forward request to resource outside the server, which means we cannot send the request of the client to another server. The request has to be within the server and it cannot be used to forward requests to resource that are not servlet or JSP files. If the request is from JavaScript or any other format, it can this forward method cannot run it. Only it can run or only it can forward the requests which are of JSP and servlets. And then it cannot be used to forward requests to resources in a different web application, which means in a different web application means we have two web applications, for example, a Chrome and a Edge browser. We cannot forward this request from the Chrome to Edge browser. So these are the limitations. And coming to the include method, the main purpose of the include method is to include content of other resources such as HTML, JSP, and servlets in response to the current servlet, providing dynamic processing of web pages. And then we can see forward method. A request is sent to the servlet and the servlet one is responding. And by using forward method, we are moving to another servlet in order to get the response faster. Then the servlet 2 generates a response and at last a final response is sent to the back to the browser which is used by the client. And then we see the include method. Whenever a request is sent to the servlet, it generates a response, and the include method is also included in the servlet, and it is called, whenever it is called, it moves to the servlet 2, and there also a response is generated. And this response, and here we can see to the response 4 final response is generated, and this, which means this response is given to the servlet 1, and this response is generated, and this, and the final one is generated by servlet 1, and this final response is sent back to the client, to its browser. And here we have the program. We have imported IO exception and print writers and servlets classes and HTTP classes and methods. Here we have do post method, and the servlet name is display servlet, which, and we have do post method which throws a servlet exception and IO exception. We have got a print writer object, and we have set content as HTML or text. We have taken a parameter uname, and the parameter value is stored in the uname, and have printed it as welcome. For example, you have, if uname has my name, for example Sai Harsha, we will be getting welcome Sai Harsha, and we will be getting a link like home page, and if we click on that link, we will be redirected to login1.html page. And here is the login1.html page, which has user input of type text, and the name of uname, and the password, and we have login and reset buttons. And here is the login servlet. Here we have do post method, which throws servlet and IO exception, and we have print writer object, and the content type is HTML and text, and we have taken the values uname value into un, and we have taken pword value into pw1, and using JDBC we have written driver, we have loaded the driver, we have got the connection, we have prepared statement ps, and we have generated the prepared statement. And here if you see rs.next, which means if request has anything other, sorry, if rs is if not rs, yeah, if ps we have set parameters, and if rs.next is true, then we will be getting like login successful, and we will be displaying the display servlet, and we are forwarding the request and response which are given by which mean the request is given by the user, and the response which we generate to another servlet. And if it is invalid, which if the username and password are invalid, then we will be getting like invalid login page, and we will be coming out. And here is a web XML. So what are the advantages and limitations of include method? Advantages: allows reuse of servlet and JSP pages, enables passing of request and response objects to include resource, simplifies the development of web applications by breaking them into smaller. Here as we have seen, we have broken down the servlet pages into two, which are comparatively small, and we can reuse the components. And while coming to the limitations, performance may be affected due to additional processing required for including resources, cannot modify the response object after it has been forwarded and include resource, may cause errors if include resources modifies the response objects without resetting it. And thank you.